What's going on? It's your boy Jay Wise with Awesome News, Awesome Media, Our Story, Our Media. I got Dr. Jahi Issa in the building right now. We're going to have a quick conversation with the scholar. And we got Leroy, Cam, and Sean also in the building. So let's kick it off. Dr. Jahi Issa, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the public.
Oh, okay. Now we're live. So you want me to do it all over again?
Yeah, just introduce yourself, and then we're just going to have some short questions for you.
Okay, no problem. Hey, peace family out in Southern Florida. This is Dr. Jahi Issa coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. I'm just here to promote my upcoming event. I'm very excited to be coming to Florida to deal with the Africans there and drop some serious knowledge. Some serious knowledge. And there's no problem with dialogue. We need more dialogue. We need more engaging, meaningful debates on ideology and culture. And not one person knows it all, right? And so, but we do need to be critical in our analysis, and we're well-versed in what we say and how we present that information, because it does make a difference. Right? Ideals are very important in anything. They say that most wars are fought on 90% information before the first shot is shot. 90% of it is information. Right? So information, there are information wars on ideology and information and how it's covered and treated. So that's why I'm really hard on people, because out in social media, everybody's an expert, right? And if a person reads 1 or 2 books, even 7 or 8, 10, 20 books, they're automatically an expert. And they start disseminating their information, right? And they may be an expert on a certain area, but you have people who are really trained. I try to always compare my training to that of a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know how to operate. And I don't want anybody who's not properly trained operating on me.
Right.
And when I go into the hospital, I hold those people in high esteem, because I assume that they got the proper training and that they have a pretty good a percentage of people that go into the hospital will come back out alive, right? So, we put a lot. So we need to treat our intellectuals that way and demand more of them, right? And understand that some people do have training. History is really difficult because a lot of people think they can just Google their way into a proper understanding.
Right.
And you hear a whole lot of different stuff on the same subject. And I have to deal with that a lot. And because I know what people are saying is wrong often, I have to say, you don't know what you're talking about. Right? And that may sound offensive to someone who may have read 1 or 2 books and watched a few videos of someone that they like. Right? So I just wanted to put that out there as a disclaimer.
All right. I do have a question, Dr. Issa. I know that you and Brother Reggie have been working closely on the reparations thing, where you've been going at the government in a different manner, because as it is known that every other race have won their reparations cases but the Africans. Can you speak on that shortly?
All right. Yes. So I'm going to talk about what I know, right, based on my research and my publishing. So for those who are listening, I would say go to Google an article called "Reparations is Dead." It came out about 3 weeks ago. Myself and Dr. Reggie wrote this article along with another brother named Patrick DeLacy, although his name doesn't appear on this article. And what this article is a summary report, a first of its kind ever, on how to file a proper reparations suit. And when we wrote this article, we caught a lot of flack from the old head establishment, simply because they're like, who are these young guys saying that they got the whole reparations stuff right, in which we didn't figure out over 40 years. And so the article basically is a revisionist history that me and Reggie spent a whole year researching, going to various libraries, archives, the Schomburg, maritime records, and we went through about 20 U.S. Supreme Court cases. We read the entirety from 1824 all the way up to the Dred Scott case. And we read all of the decisions of the other Supreme Court justices on all of these cases. And we formulated this new analysis that African people brought to the United States. Most of them came here during a period where the United States had previously banned the importation of Africans after 1807. So after 1807, 1808, it was illegal to bring an African person in this country. However, the United States broke its own laws and brought more than 3 million Africans in this country during a 50-year period when it was illegal. So most of us in this country, particularly those who are indigenous, where their grandparents and great-grandparents were born and were or came out of enslavement in the United States, are recent Africans. They were not here. They didn't come in 1741. The vast majority of us, 75 to 80%, came during the period when it was illegal to bring us here. And so we are the first to say this and say that this is a reason why we should get reparations. So I'm going to deal with this when I get to Florida.
All right. And any other questions from my brothers on the panel?
Yeah, can you go into the importance of true scholarly research, and like you was alluding to earlier, that a lot of people just get information, read a book, and they really don't know the process. Can you edify us on how do you do true research?
Okay, very good. So what I'm going to be revealing when I get there is I'll actually be revealing it at the reunion that Sonetta is having. I'm going to start doing classes, right? A series of classes. I'll be teaching at a university in New York, but I'm still going to do probably 1 to 2 classes a month for our brothers and sisters who really want to engage in true research, right? Because we need a lot of y'all to do this research. It's very important. The research of African people or Africana studies is just as important as getting a PhD in physics,
right,
or chemistry. It's just as important, because we need people to be properly trained, even if it's on the grassroots level. And we have a lot of brothers and sisters that want the truth. And so what I'm going to be doing is teaching these introductory classes that will be 4 weeks long, right? And I'm going to encourage people to write, because we have to challenge this. For instance, recently, a white magazine came out and said that the ancient Egyptians are white, right? Any of y'all hear that?
Yep, I heard it, and I remember Jabari was
right.
going.
So what people are doing, because we don't understand the seriousness of scholarship, we think that doing a YouTube video is scholarship. Well, that's one form of scholarship, but the highest form of scholarship is the written word. And so I want to train people on how to write a proper response based on historical record. But you have to be trained in that, right? You have to know the historiography of that area. Or even if somebody comes out and say that Malcolm X wasn't born in the United States, he was born in Europe. and he was married to a white woman. Right? We have to be trained to respond to that. And don't look, they do this. There was one scholar, his name was Manny Marable. He wrote a book called The Invention of Malcolm X. And on page 66 of that book, it said that Malcolm X was a homosexual, that he had homosexual acts. On page 66, this professor, Manny Marable, and he just by happened to have died on the day that the book came out. And so a group of scholars responded to this book, a group of black scholars. So you got to be trained to respond. When they responded in the written art, and they published an edited book. So I want to take people through an introductory course similar to how Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben was trained, right? They were reading and writing. So I'm going to talk about this at my lecture, that I will be teaching some introductory 4-week courses. And there will be a charge for them, but you're going to get some great training with a very deep bibliography.
And when do you plan on starting this? When do you start the classes?
I'm working on it now. I'll have my flyer ready sometime by the end of this week.
All right. So please send it to me, because I could share it with the public as well.
Yes. And it's going to go on my website also. So for those who want to be trained, I say you have to get properly trained. Right. And so I'm going to do that, some introductory courses. And then after about 4 or 5 courses, a person will get a certificate. And so with that certificate, you can go into a local church and say, look, I have a certificate from this PhD professor. These are the courses that I took under him or her. And I would like to teach a basic introductory course of African history at your church.
Right.
And I will show you how. I will teach a class called The African Origins of Christianity and Judaism, and how to appropriately approach a church. You don't throw stuff down their throat. Kemet was before Jesus. Therefore, you should stop going to church and believing what you believe. Right? I used to do that with my mother. I was wrong. I was young and wrong. Right? Because that's what my mother believed. That's what got her through. That ain't what I believe.
I'm sure my brother Leroy loved that. I love the
yeah. You know, let's talk real. You know, our people, we don't know who we are. None of us know. It's particularly if you were born in the islands, or you were born in the United States, you tell me where your ancestors come from in Africa. Not just a geographical location. You tell me the name of that family clan and where they are now.
Right.
And to the extent you can't do that, you have no right to go out telling other people what they don't know. Do you understand?
All right.
We've all gone through this war that has been waged against African people for the last 500 years.
That's a good word.
All of us. There are things I don't know. I'm studying under Dr. Reggie on a particular issue on law that he's much more versed than I am. I have to listen to him.
Right. So I want to touch quickly on, because you know the event is pretty much based around Marcus Garvey and the UNIA and the centennial anniversary. One thing that I always wondered was the damaging role that Webb Du Bois probably played in the destruction of, or the demise of, what Garvey was trying to build. Could you speak on that shortly?
Yeah, and I talk about that a lot, right? And in fact, I was talking to a sister yesterday who has the longest serving Garvey parade in the country. It's 80 years old, right? And she's running that organization. They've had a Garvey parade for 80 years in Harlem, New York. For 80 years, right? So we were talking about Du Bois sitting on Adam Clayton Powell statue in Harlem on the corner of 125th and Lenox Avenue. And she made the remarks that I hear a lot, that Du Bois sold out Garvey, right? And I'm a Garvey scholar, and I love Garvey. I love Garvey, right? I love it when I just hear his name. It does something to me as a black man, right? When I see the flag, the red, black, and green, that does something for me as a black man and as a historian. So I love him. I honor his spirit as an ancestor. And I want to continue his work. And I pray that my children continue and those that I come in contact with be influenced to continue his work. However, these were human beings, no more different than you and me, right? However, that Garvey had a bigger mission. He came to this earth and he completed his mission. Now, Du Bois lived to be almost 100 years old. He was not the same person in 1894 when he wrote his first article on the African slave trade as he was in 1898 when he published his first book on the African slave trade. And he most definitely, by 1918, when he was one of the executives of the NAACP and the UNIA began to flourish throughout the country and lose and take most of the NAACP's membership, Du Bois was not the same person that he was 20 years before that.
Right.
And then by 1945, 1 year after Marcus Garvey had died in London, Amy Jacques Garvey asked W.E.B. Du Bois to go to Manchester, England for the 5th Pan-African Conference. And she asked him, since he is the top African intellectual in the world, that he go to London and work with Kwame Nkrumah, who was then just a student, and that he go and work with George Patmore and Nnamdi Azikiwe, who took over Nigeria, and George Patmore from the islands, who went to school at Howard, but at the request of Nkrumah went and helped Nkrumah run his government. So I say all of this to say that we don't hold Malcolm X in the same light that we hold Du Bois. Why? Malcolm X was a pimp. Malcolm X ran women. If you met him when he was Detroit Red, he probably would have shot you in the butt.
Right.
He was selling crack of his time. He was a crack dealer. But what did he do? He became a god. He evolved all of that. And he became a god. So the real question to me is, why do you know more about Malcolm's from the ghetto to a god than Du Bois's evolution from a Negro to a god? Remember, Du Bois did something that none of the Pan-Africans of that time was able to do, not even Garvey. He left the U.S., threw away his American passport, and became a citizen of Ghana, and to this day, he is a national hero in the country of Ghana. Right? So yes, at one point, Du Bois said a lot of horrible things, but if it wasn't Du Bois, it would have been somebody else. Right? And I don't think it played as much as a lot of people think it did in that movement, because Du Bois, Garvey, and the UNIA was going up against the world. The whole world needed Africa. England, France, Belgium, they were destroyed after World War I. Where are they going to get their raw material? Mm-hmm. If it wasn't Du Bois, it would have been some other Negro. Right? Because you're dealing with global powers and their interest in natural resources. So what I try to do is get people to think higher and then give you sources. There's a very good biography on Du Bois, and I'll say this to you guys because you guys are part of this group, and so you may be a bit more serious than the average brother and sister.
Right.
But the book, there's a biography by Gerald Horne. It's the best study on it. If you want to know Du Bois, all right, look at his night from 1945 onward. He became a serious Pan-Africanist. And if it were not for Du Bois, there would never have been a Ghana, nor a Nigeria, nor a Kenya, right? It was Du Bois. Because Garvey died and Garvey was never able to go to Africa, right? So I want us to look at these historical figures through time and space, not keep them locked in one corner, because we don't do that with Malcolm, right? These are human beings that we're dealing with,
right?
And they are sick, all of them. Malcolm was sick. He was pimping, shooting dope. He was on heroin, selling heroin. But he became the god of the black ghetto, right? That's how great our ancestors are and the power that we have. So Du Bois was no better. He was a serious Uncle Tom. But he became the foremost Pan-Africanist and continued the work of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So we got to know those other sides too. So that's what I would want to say.
How you doing, Dr. Issa? This is Cam talking. I want to know, at the time you had 3 prevalent people trying to push for Black America.
Hey, Cam, can you speak up just a little bit? Speak up a little bit, Cam. Sorry about that.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
If you could, for the audience, can you explain what was it? What was the one thing or the few things that allowed Marcus Garvey to separate himself from W. Du Bois and Peanut Man? What's this? Carver at the time. What was
Carver or Booker T. Washington? You saying explain who? When who did what?
I'm sorry, brother. I'm breaking up bad. Okay? I'm trying to change my location. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead and just switch out. Sean.
Yeah, he said what was the one thing that separated, one or few things that separated Marcus Garvey from W.E. Du Bois and is either George Washington Carver or Frederick Douglass. About George Washington.
Yeah, he said George Washington Carver, but George Washington Carver was not a literary intellectual. So I don't know if we meant Booker T. Washington. I don't know if he meant Carter G. Woodson.
Yeah, I think he probably meant either Frederick Douglass or Booker T. Washington. What separated him from the others?
What separated who? Du Bois?
Garvey from the rest. What made him stand out and become so successful?
Yeah, the reason why Garvey was so successful, there were a lot of things, and I'll be dealing with this in detail. One, it was the timing. This is right after World War I. A lot of black men were coming back from fighting in Germany and other European countries and killing white men, and they were coming back being lynched in their uniform, but they had modern military training. And so when Garvey said, hey, we need our own army, you know, you had a lot of black men who were already trained in the latest military science, and 2, many of them, their parents and grandparents were born in Africa, or at least their grandparents or great-grandparents were born in Africa. Many of them. So if you're born if you're 40 years old in 1920, that means that you were born in 1880. That means that your parents were probably born in 1860, and their grandparents were probably born somewhere around 1830 to 1840. And many of them would have been African born. They were born in Africa. So here you are, born in 1880. Your parents or even your grandparents may have been alive who were born in Africa. So you had a memory about Africa. So the timing was there. These people knew who they were, unlike now, and the social conditions were there. So you had a lot of elements in play that brought about a Garvey. But there were already Garvey-like or black nationalist, Pan-Africanist organizations in the United States before Garvey came. They were there. Going all the way back to the 1820s. You had black nationalist, Pan-Africanist institutions. All right?
Yes, sir. Any other questions from my brothers on the panel?
Yeah, I know it just had a recent controversy with brother Dr. Wesley Muhammad and some comments he made on the Breakfast Club about Afrocentric studies and the value of Afrocentric studies. You want to talk about the importance or the value of African-centered thought process, studies, and views?
Yeah, I can briefly, just really quickly, just say, on that subject, Wesley Muhammad was out of his lane. He didn't know what he was talking about. And why he said that, I'm still dumbfounded, right? Because he never responded to me. So, but we do know he was wrong. And as I said earlier, the study of your culture and your history is just as important and significant as someone studying mathematics or computer science. They're all part of the nation building process, right? You're not a European. You're not even if you speak the best English or French in the world, that doesn't make you a European. How would you know that if you don't have people who are trained in your history and culture to come and remind you of that?
Right.
Right? Not anybody can remind you of that. You got to be properly trained. Because you're not going to get it out of the school systems per se, unless you run into a professor like me, and that'll be 1 in a million, maybe 5 in a million. Right? You're not going to get this from K to 12th grade. Most of us don't get this. I didn't get it until I went away to college. Unfortunately, I went to a school where the department where they were serious about teaching black people.
Because I know some people, Dr. Issa, in the community were kind of on, so it was kind of torn based on the people that I have conversations with. There was people who sided with you and people who sided with Wesley. But one thing that came up was, is it worth the debt to get those studies? How do you reclaim yourself, or how do you make it practical to where you accumulated $80,000 in debt, and then now how can you get into a workforce and make that money back with the Africana studies?
Well, there are many websites that show you what you can do with an Africana studies degree. I don't know of any person who has an Africana studies degree that's not working. At least I don't know of any.
Right.
And
I think a lot of people in the community is kind of making this, I don't think they fully understand how that study goes hand in hand with science. I mean, you can't do that kind of work without science anyway. I mean, because you have to do DNA research, archaeological research. I mean, a lot of things go that comes with the Africana studies. It's not only
well, let me say this. I understand where you're going, but I think you're going the wrong way. Right? So let me stop you before you keep going the wrong way, because I don't think you're understanding me correctly. Right? Africana studies is just as important to the nation building process as chemistry and physics. And here you are talking about a financial investment. But here, Wesley Muhammad comes from the top black nationalist organization in the country. So they're in the business of nationalism. And one important aspect of nationalism is culture. You don't have one without the other. Nobody debates whether or not someone who's studying Jewish studies is important for the culture and nation building process. No one debates whether or not someone who spends $80,000 a year studying Arabic studies, no one debates whether that's important, because everybody knows that it's important. But when it comes to African people, people put off this fake history and fake news and confuse people. And then the confusion becomes the truth. And then this confused, falsified, fake narrative becomes a way of reality, and we don't know how to get out of it. And what I'm telling you is, if you're talking about RBG, the red, the black, and the green, if you say you're a black nationalist, if you say you believe in self-determination, you need culture and history. It is just as important as any other discipline. It is just as important as the money that you invest in it, as anything. Now, if you're talking about being an assimilated Negro in the United States, then it's not important, because you are a prototype European or a prototype Arab. So it's not important. So you wouldn't put an emphasis on studying it, because you don't see the significance of it. Because your real value system is based on European culture or Arab culture.
Right.
But no one who's a true nationalist, no one in Ireland, in the government of Ireland, would say, "Oh, I think we need to erase all Irish studies." No one in England or France will say we need to. In fact, the French pride themselves on French culture and how much money they put in. So do the Italians. They pride themselves in the preservation of Italian history and culture. I was in Ethiopia a few years ago. They are serious cultural nationalists. The Ethiopian puts in just as much money into studying their tradition and culture as they do in military. In fact, they're one and the same. In fact, everybody studies our history and culture but us. And maybe that's why we're in the position that we're in, because we don't see the importance. And we will make all of these fake narrative debates on whether it's important when we don't even really truly understand that the purpose of studying history and culture is sitting around nationhood. Simple. And to the extent that you are assimilated and you don't need it, or you feel you don't need it, then there lies your problem. And so I'm saying that the questions that you guys are asking is really, you're coming from a assimilation position. A person who has been culturally zapped. And that's why I had to respond the way that I had to respond, because I knew the damage that it was done when 3 million people saw that. Police on the Hidden Record, another intellectual, went and said how I felt that it was wrong. And all the other top intellectuals, black intellectuals around the country, agreed with me. And Wesley Muhammad never responded to it, because he knew that he was wrong. But the damage has been done. But he never said that an Arab degree was not important. He knew that he wouldn't live long if he said that, because those Arabs will kill you.
Right.
And you're not going to go around saying that a Jewish degree, you're not going to go to a group of Jewish people and say, and I live in a Jewish neighborhood right now, Hasidic Jews. You're not going to say, and they have a chapel, a synagogue on every corner with their cultural history signs there, and they walk in their cultural minutes. But I did want to address some of these issues, and this is serious stuff, y'all. It's very serious, and so if you want a serious dialogue and some serious information, then you did pick the right brother to bring down.
Right, and I'm pretty excited to have you down here and really putting people on to the information, minus the WWE that a lot of our people like to see. You know, they like to see a lot of drama, but we're trying to just bring some good, solid information in an entertainment form as well, but not the, you know, beating each other down and trying to hold each other down as well. So any other questions before I close out from my brothers?
Yeah.
No, we good. We good. Like we can't give them everything tonight.
Right. So Dr. Issa, if you will, you know, just let the people know how they could find you, find your content, and what you're currently working on and what's going on with you.
Yeah, again, I'm excited that I'll be there in a couple of weeks, and you can find me at dr.jahi JahiIssa.com. So that's dr.jahiissa.com. And you'll see my contact information there. I'm working on, I got a major project coming out on the Journal of Pan-African Studies, the first scientific study that I am the lead scholar editor on, Francis Quest Wells. So it'll be out hopefully in about a week. It's an academic study. We got about 10 scholars who have written studies on her life and history and where she was as an intellectual. And so that'll be out in a week. I told you about the other article. You know, I'm working on reparations. I got a lot of stuff. I'm finishing my manuscript on the Garvey movement. It's done. I'm really in the editing process. So I got a lot of work, you know, and I'm trying to go to Africa, take a few people to Africa with me in December.
All right.
Right. So I got a lot of stuff going on.
All right. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Issa. I appreciate your time. I appreciate my brothers who's also on the panel who took the time out to have a conversation with Dr. Issa. And thanks for whoever joined us to watch. And we got this event going down August 20th at the Denton Johnson Center in the great Eatonville, Florida. So thanks for watching. Y'all have a great night.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Peace. Hotel.
Hotel.